My infographic is on the Tesley and Wilder Chapter 3, Viewer Response to Teaching Film. So, what is a viewer response? Well, basically, viewer response is the same thing as a reading response, and it just takes a visual, or in this case, auditory cues of a film and allows students to comprehend those, along with the words, or in this case, images of the film, and it allows students to create coherent and satisfying interpretations of the film. So, it also allows students to go outside of class and continue reading, or in this case, watching films, and they can better comprehend increasingly sophisticated texts, or in this case, films. So, what are some advantages of viewer response? Students almost always watch films nowadays, mostly because they're so easy to watch and they're more interesting, or at least less time consuming than reading a book. And so it creates active viewers, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to create active viewers, so when they're watching a film, they're comprehending more stuff. So in this case, they're paying closer attention, they're writing down their immediate responses, and then afterwards they can discuss their interpretations with other students and get other opinions and ideas from that film that they watched, and then they can use their evidence from the film that they watched and support it with support their opinions with that evidence. So this allows us to create active viewers and more responsive students when they're watching films. And so these are just some advantages of viewer response. It's the same as reader response, in the fact that they're taking away a lot more from comprehensive text. So what we can do is use this viewing guide that was created in the chapter 3, and they have a viewing guide that we can use. And there's a quote that says, "The single most important tool for teaching film using the viewer response approach is the viewing guide." So it's basically your foundation when doing viewer response. Now, what is the viewing guide? So the viewing guide is a multi-page handout, which one segment for each part of the film. And there's 3 parts. There's one part on taking notes on visuals, there's one part on taking notes on sounds, like music or the auditory cues that we talked about earlier. And then there's another part for open-ended questions that you have after viewing the film. So the viewing guide really does provide structure for taking notes, viewing the film, and for discussion after viewing the film. So it's very important that we use this tool for us when writing, when watching films. So now, what is the role of a teacher and for conducting these discussions after the film? So we really want to limit the role of the teacher as to more of a facilitator, someone who's just going around and making sure everyone's staying on task. We want to really promote engagement with the film. So we want to give standard information so that they can understand the film, but if there's no, so background knowledge basically. So they're not going into the film blind. Now, if there's no background knowledge that the students need for the film, then you can just jump right into discussing the student guide, or the viewing guide to your students, allowing them to understand what it is that is required of them while they're watching the film. Now, for the very end, when you're discussing the film, you really want to ask 6 generic questions that you can ask with any film. This is just to really get the students starting to get engaged. And then you want to ask 3 questions that are specific about the film, so directly tied in with the film. You can't ask these questions about any other film. And then you want to ask students, if they can, to tie the film to a novel. So if the film's based off of a novel, this is pretty easy. If not, you can have a novel that you read previously in class, and then get them talking about what are some things that connect the film to the novel. And then you want to discuss the answers to these questions, and then this whole discussion can be either just a regular class discussion, or you can make it more fun and interesting by making it a jigsaw discussion and having your students really get engaged with the film. And that's been my infographic.